Howdy, I'm Steve Thompson. About a year ago, I made videos of me reading stories from my short story anthologies, Man a Few Words, The All-You-Can-Read Buffet, and Political Pies. I've also written a few Kindle books, and one of them is Brain for Rent and Other Stories, which is a sort of 5-story mini anthology. And I tried several times to read the first few pages of the main story, Brain for Rent, but I was having internet issues at the time, so internet would disconnect, where YouTube would hiccup, and I tried like 6 or 7 times, and I could never record, a 3-minute video. So eventually I just, gave up. But I've decided to go back and record bits of me reading parts of my stories from my Kindle books. So I'll start with a selection from Brain for Rent and Other Stories. There's a link below that will send you to the Amazon page for it if what I read sounds interesting. So here goes. Brain for Rent. I really wish you would come to my office when you do this. John smiled at the older man displayed on the screen. It's your proven technology, Rodrigo, he explained. There's only a 10 million to 1 chance something could go wrong. And if you're that 1 in 10 million, then my brain would be just as much mush in your office as it would be here. Rodrigo began to say something, but turned it into a sigh. Fine, but at least let me act like your doctor. If you had any problems with your implants, going offline, stray signals? John shook his head. No. Any problems with your modem? Itchiness? Tenderness? No. Turn your head. At least let me examine you. John turned his head to the left and leaned closer to the screen's camera so Rodrigo could see the tattooed circuitry about a centimeter across just behind his right ear. See? Perfectly fine. After a few moments, Rodrigo again sighed. Okay, suppose I should thank you for at least humoring me. Sitting back, John said, You're my doctor. Aren't I supposed to humor you? Rodrigo let out a groan. Oh, come on, I can't sit here all day. I do have patients who actually come visit me. You know I love you, Rodrigo, but why would I drive 3 hours so you can watch me do something that would take less than 10 seconds? My bedside manner? For a second, neither said anything, then both exploded in laughter. Once they were composed again, Rodrigo said, All right, let me watch you do your thing. How many packets are you uploading this time? 3. Ambitious. John shrugged. The more the merrier. He then inserted a data wand into the transmitter on his desk. He double-checked its settings, then looked up at Rodrigo. Ready? To do nothing? Sure. John shook his head. Taking a deep breath, he pressed the activation button and closed his eyes. He did his best to clear his mind and not count down the 5 seconds of the built-in timer. In a snap, the visual sensors of his brain exploded as if hundreds of fast-forwarded videos were playing on the same screen with thousands of pages of superimposed text. And they were not silent videos. Their soundtracks combined into a monotonous roar. His brain felt like it was being ripped in half, but just as suddenly as it stopped. Just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Breathing heavily, John opened his eyes and blinked several times. What is 2 plus 2? Rodrigo asked from the screen. 4. What is my name? Rodrigo Felipe Ordaz. Who won the last election? Janice Vance. What don't you remember? His breathing slowed back to normal. John scowled at the screen. Rodrigo shrugged. I just thought I'd throw that one in. Now as to my payment. John's scowl turned into a grin. A case of my finest, the next time I'm in town. And Christine and I will treat you to dinner. Christine? Is there something you're not telling me? Rodrigo smiled. I was just double-checking your memory. Sure. Maybe I should just keep my beer as payment for not telling Carol about Christine. Then what will we drink with our meal? Good point. Rodrigo chuckled. Next time you're in town, Carol and I will treat you to dinner. Sounds like a plan. I'll let you know. Rodrigo nodded. You do that. I suppose I'll leave you to your work. Talk to you later. And you. Rodrigo disappeared from John's screen, replaced with a live video feed of Ayers Rock. It was past midnight in Australia, so John couldn't see much, but he watched the screen for a few minutes anyway. Shaking his head, he turned it off and walked out onto his deck. He grabbed his gardening gloves and stepped out into the morning light. That's the opening of Praying for It. If you want to find out what happened to the rest, and the rest of the story, and the other 4 stories in the collection, you have to check out the link below. Thanks.